Hey friend, welcome back. Or if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Jeff. I'm an artist, designer, and maker. I am here today to do another drawing session on my iPad. So imagine it as if you're like peeking over my shoulder when I'm drawing in my sketchbook. I've connected my iPad app to my computer, and it's going to be like a live stream kind of feel to the whole thing. Okay, there we go. Just had to fix my chair. Yeah, so it should be really fun. Today I'm going to be drawing okay, I have to get this right. It's the ISPA Sense Fly Knit in the Sesame Desert Ochre and Coconut Milk Shoe. It's such a long name. From Nike. I'm going to put the shoe up. Now, it's pretty delicious looking, not going to lie. By the end of this video, I should, if all goes to plan, have a pretty fleshed out illustration of this shoe in a very Jeffified way. Along the way, I'll probably discuss different, like my approach to illustration and how I do drawings like this in my sketchbook in a more free and playful way rather than like a realistic approach to illustration. And at the very end as well, I'll be talking about ways in which I like to potentially turn these illustrations into products that I could sell, or if I like to keep them as general illustrations for like creative work for myself. So yeah, there's lots of different ways I think about work like this. So I'm going to chat about that right at the very end, but let's just get started. So I'm going to put up the shoe. Oh, there we go. So this is the shoe. Ain't it nice? I love to draw shoes. Weirdly, I never used to be into them. I just really like shoes. Yeah, I have only really got into the idea of like, oh my god, you can own a lot of pairs of shoes for different outfits and the way that you're feeling, that kind of stuff. So probably in the last like 4 years is when I really understood that. And my collection is growing. For me, these shoes, there's so much to like about them, and the reasons why I guess I wanted to draw them is there's a few. There's the shape of them is really interesting. So if I put up this photo, really cool. I like the way that this section is like a little chokey kind of vibe. It's not like a traditional shaped shoe, which is really great. I really liked the texture. So like the patterns that are on here, on the heel or sole, I should say, compared to this sort of like watercolor like effect on this part of the shoe. And then there's obviously the weave of the fabrics, the zigzags, the like shoe lace. Like there's just so much you can play with in the textural side. And then there's also the color. I love yellow. Yellow is my favorite color. So that naturally drew me to the shoe. But yeah, you can play around with a lot of the more tertiary browny kind of tones and then really pick up on that neon yellow and lime green kind of feel that is in this kind of base and then also up the top there. Yeah, so that's what really attracted me to the shoe. So now I'm just gonna start and we will see what I come up with. So I have got a few different angles to the shoe. I'm gonna delete that layer. I've also got a top view there, just in case if I want to see how the construction of the shoe is across the top. It's always better to have too much information than not enough information when I'm doing a drawing like this. And the way that I like to approach it is obviously I'm doing using it as inspiration, but I'm not wanting to do a realistic shoe. I don't think that's never my idea when I'm going to things like this. So I might put up a few pictures now of shoes I've drawn in the past and might give you a good idea of like where this artwork could potentially lead up. or lead 2, I should say. So they're like taking notes from the shoe but not actually doing a realistic one. So yeah, so I think what I'm going to start off doing is I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to move this to the side. I always draw in vector. I don't really like pixel. It's just I like the clean lines of a vector artwork. So I tend to draw quite rough to start. I like this angle because it's got a lot of the shoe details, but it's like 3-dimensional. So first of all, just gonna draw the rough shape. That way I can really block out all the different areas. So now what I do is I just start to, I put that layer onto transparent, usually as pretty low, like maybe 10 is good. I keep the pencil thickness the same, and then I just keep on going over it and over it until I get to a point where I'm really happy with where the shape is. The first step is always drawing it sort of as close to as possible, and then I like to play with distortion and exaggeration. No. Hopefully you can't hear the construction that's happening like 4 houses over. Now, something that some people might normally do is literally just trace the shoe, like literally go around it and trace it to get the base, but I don't like to do that. It makes me too aware of the realism in it, and I'm not trying to create a one-to-one depiction of it. So I feel like it can really hinder me from playing. And also I like the idea that I'm developing my skills of observation, of looking at something and going, okay, what am I actually seeing, rather than just tracing it. Like, I don't think one way is better than the other, but I do like the process of really having to break down an image. Like, yes, this is a picture of a shoe, but I'm actually just looking at shapes and spacing and repetition and working out what I want to take from that into the actual drawing itself. So I have to make more decisions. So there is a lot of sort of brain work happening there. I quite like that. And I can be a contradiction, and you might see me in like 3 videos time tracing it because that's okay. I think I'm going to squish it. These are kind of like pillowy kind of looking feel. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Okay, that goes along there. The stitch marks is something that I really love to do. Okay, the next part. So when it comes to the shoelace and like this section, what I like to do is break things up onto different layers. That way I can play around with how they overlap and it's not destructive drawing. So when it's destructive, well, to some degree. So if it's destructive, it means that I can't go back and change things. Whereas on this, I'm able... So like if I was all on one layer and I went to rub something out, I'm rubbing everything out. Whereas by having things on two different layers, it means I can rub out just one part of it or move one part around and not have to worry about ruining the whole drawing. So in order to get this anchoring point that overlaps the two layers helps a lot. So then I can bring that over as long as I'm drawing, yes, on the right layer. And that way, if I want to go back to that little zigzag thing, I can also move that and play with that too. So that's when it's not destructive. So that's getting the idea. I've changed. I'm not doing the crossover. I just don't like doing crossover laces as much. It's a little bit more, or at least for this one, it just feels a little bit like not necessary. I'm actually going to, will I? No, not yet. I'm jumping ahead. Okay, another layer up here. So this is a really, I might do that in a smaller pencil. A checkerboard. Cool effect. Let's get rid of that for a second. So I'm just jumping ahead and doing some smaller details that pick up the notes of the texture, but they're just a suggestion. This just helps me to visualize where the design of the shoe could go. This helps me to start to think about the finished line work, but not jump right to the end, but just get a bit of a teaser of it and start to bring the shoe to life for me. So I like to do that a little bit and then I go back and do more of the structural outline. So I'm just going to go back to that 4.5. I tend to draw just in general in my sketching around like a 5, the size like 4.5 to 5, just for my line work. And then when I do my final piece, the final rendering, it depends on the size of what I'm doing, but I will talk about that later. That's on the back. I think I'm just gonna not do that bit. Okay, so now I've got that. Looking at the shoe, love it. I'm going to actually group them all together and do a duplicate and turn off one. So I've got like a safe place I can go back to. I'm going to merge all those layers together. So now this is just one drawing. What is that? Delete that. So now it's just one artwork. And now the new settings on Fresco mean I can play with the liquefier. Is pretty cool. I'm going to bloat things in different areas. So this can just make you create more volume, I guess, without having to redraw the lines. It's not always my favorite tool to use for this. Like warp is also great because you can do a bit more of a focused in approach. So it's not so much bloating on like a 360, but instead it's bloating or pulling things in one direction. That's definitely starting to give me what I'm after in terms of interesting shapes. Still getting basic ideas of the structure. So like having, let me just finish that and go in with like a red. So I can still get that shape that's here. This shape I think is still really important. And then these chunkier. Maybe I can make that a little bit bigger down the bottom. And then I think as well capturing that shape is also really important. So I feel like I'm getting that pretty well. Delete. So let's bring all of that. So I've just gripped it all. I selected it all. And just bringing it down. A tad. Maybe that was a mistake. Oh my God. I keep on throwing my pencil. All right, I think that's pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is bring that volume right down, that transparency right down, and a new layer. I'm going to actually change over to like a dark navy. It's a recent thing I've liked to do is to make a, instead of using black, draw with a dark navy color, and it just changes the way that you, the way the drawing looks. Really simple little detail change. All right, I'm going to now probably jump over to a little quick time-lapse video, and I'm going to do some more of the fleshed out detail, so like a more refined version of the sketch. So see you on the other side. Okay, so I thought I'd just explain the shoelaces a little bit. This is when I want to create work that is a little bit more detailed, like the shoelaces a little bit more detailed. So I will always put the actual shoe itself on a lighter transparency, like here, like that. Then I will draw the shoe, which is, then I'll draw the shoelace, and then I'll come back and I will draw these loops that the shoelace is going through over the top. That way, and I'll even put this layer on a transparent down a little bit. That way, now I can go back onto the shoelace layer, and I'm going to get rid of that one too, on the shoelace layer, and I'm just going to erase that top part. And then that gives it some kind of dimension, like it's going through a loop or a ring. Sometimes I might want to redraw them if they don't look realistic enough. But for these kinds of drawings where I'm just doing it for fun, I'm okay with things looking a little bit off in some way. So I'm also going to get rid of that detailing from the shoe that is behind the shoelace. Maybe I'll just bring the shoelace level up so that becomes more clear in this layer. So get rid of that, anything that's within the shoe lace area, that should actually stay, but I'm going to pretend it's not there. And then that's where you can start to get the depth. All right, on this part of the shoe, I always make the shoelace go over the outside of the shoe, so it gives some like depth to the shape, as if the shoelace is wrapping around. Cool. Bring everything back up. So then you can start to see. Cool. In theory, this one, maybe that should go a bit more like that. Just to feel a little bit more similar. Okay, just for now that it's cool. All right, continue moving. All right, not sure what happened there. So what I've decided to do is I'm just going to go through and add in all the details section by section. It'll be a quicker time lapse. I think. Actually, no. I'm just going to do a really rough, add in all the details, and then I'm going to turn the rest of the final design making into, and like refining everything into a time lapse. So let's smash this out. Sorry, it took me a little bit to work out which way I wanted to go, and I decided that this is the way I wanted to do it. All right, so I'm going to add in the patterns, taking rough inspiration from it. I'm changing the line width to start to get a little bit of depth and variation within the artwork. So this isn't going to be the definite final line work, but it's definitely giving me an idea of where I want to go with it. There's some cute little blobs down there. There's a nice little gap that I think would be cool to do there. Okay, for this next section up the top here, I think I just want to add stitching marks. Because everything else is quite busy, so leaving a few sections blank is great. I'm gonna do, so I think this bit here, again, I want to do like a different type of stitch. Yeah. No, maybe longer. Yeah, that's nicer. Maybe even coming down. Ooh, I like that. I don't know how I'm going to do this puffiness of that lime greeny yellow area, but I think I'm just going to rely on the color to create some kind of texture. Yeah, let's just rely on the color. Suggesting a brick kind of perforated, that's a word, part. More simple because I think I'm going to do bigger perforated on the top. Yeah. Oh my god, I am not doing great layers. I'm just going for it. Once things start to come together as an illustration, or I'm getting like momentum, sometimes my rules go out the window. Or I'll just trust the process and then I'll go back and tidy it up for the final version. Told you, contradiction. Okay, these are cool. Some kind of picking up on those little lighter stitch marks, but not too too much. And I think I'll do the actual hatching with tonal work. And then there's always the decision of, do I want my stitches to line up? And the answer is always yes. But do I do it? No. For a different type of perforation, I think I'll leave that to being tonal variation rather than line work. So it's more subtle and drifts off into the background. And then for the top here, so there's stitching. Oh, these night ticks are going to be the death of me. Oh, that one's actually not too bad. And then new layer. Sick! Okay, I love where this is going. There's so much pattern. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to do a quick color. So let's remove that background. So it's a new layer. So it's going to be underneath, and I might just quickly group them up. So let's start with, I might just ink dropper just to get rough color in. Oh my god, what am I doing? There we go. More orange. Cool. My tip is do all the big areas first, then come back over with your smaller details. I don't like to worry so much about being neat, because this is just in the moment drawing. This. Usually I don't like to do white for the actual object, because sometimes I like to use white as like a highlight around it, like a glow. So we'll just leave it like that for now. Okay, back again. I'm not sure how much you missed. Camera stopped recording. Next, I'm going to move on to this bubble-like structure. No, I'm doing the hatching under the laces. So I think it's just going to turn into textural work. Cool. Next, this swirly effect. So what I'm going to do is do a whole bunch of marbling. And then come back and delete. Let's do a grey. I do the marbling at all different sizes, like widths, and I pay no attention to the shape. Let's do a lighter one. Marble. And finally, for the bottom part of the shoe, it'll be some shadow work. Getting that part done, maybe a bit darker, which then allows you to go even darker for your shadow. Potentially that's too dark. And for the highlights, a lighter grey. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this now. Oh my god, this is looking great! Great. Alright, so I'm just going to do a background color. I always go for blue, usually. And so that is my IcePA Nike shoe. What I'm going to do now is go away, create a final, really refined version of it, and then going to discuss all the different ways that we could turn this, or I could turn this, into something else. Just off the top of my head. No, I'm not going to go into it now. All right, I'll be back soon. Bye. I'm back. Okay, so I have completed the final rendering of the artwork. And here it is. I'll probably do it just here. So I neatened up the line work. I just refined the color. I added some more shadow, and I'm in love with it. I think it looks delicious. Mwah. The next thing I did is I just went in and played around with different background colors. A lot of the time for me, by changing the background color, you can really give a different feel to the artwork, and it does inspire me to think of different ways that I could apply it to different assets or different sort of like projects. And a lot of the time, all I'll do is just sit there with like the color wheel and just like transfer through all the colors. and see what happens. These 3 are the final ones that I settled on, and they all really give different feels. I'm not sure which one's my favorite. Usually I go towards like a blue color, but I really like the browny earthy tones of that background. So yeah, this is a really simple exercise that you can do as well that can help you to manifest new ideas. So from here, there's 4 different options that I can go with. 1, I can just leave the artwork as is and just accept it as like a really nice drawing exercise. You know, I could post it on Instagram, put it in my portfolio. I could just leave it and not do anything with it. And that's perfectly fine. The second option I could do is to take the artwork and think about ways that I could turn it into a product that I could sell through my online shop or at markets. So things like, you know, creating stickers or digital prints, printing it onto something full stop could be something to explore. The third option is to think about, are there any clients that I have or potential new clients that I would like to work with, where this style of artwork could really work for them and be a great way to do an introduction of, hey, I've just created this artwork. And essentially you're creating a pitch for how you could collaborate. This is something that I will regularly think of because for my work, a lot of the time I need to show that I can do the work in order for clients to be able to realize how they could fit into my world. It's kind of like giving them an example to be like, hey, look, we can make this for you. Let's do it. I also like this because it allows me to hone my skills in and to really lead the conversation on how I think I could work with them and show that I've got the confidence in my practice, but also how I could work with them and benefit them, because a lot of the times you have to reframe the conversation to say, hey, this is what I can do to benefit you and to add value to your company, your product, your service, whatever they deliver. And the fourth one is, I guess, a combination of all 3 of the above. So what I decided to do was to turn the shoe into a sticker concept because I thought it was just really fun and playful and a perfect way to translate it into something for my online shop. I would just do like a die cut outline around it with a nice little white border. This is something that I've done many times in the past for myself and for clients. I think having it at a really nice smaller format that's sort of like, 10 by 10 centimeters max is really good. I then wanted to do some mock-ups of, where people could potentially stick these stickers, because this again starts to generate those ideas of how you could sell the sticker to people. So, putting it on your laptop or putting it on an art diary or a diary in general or a book, those sorts of things, drink bottles, doing those mock-ups can really be a great way to bring the work to life. These mock-ups I would also be able to use in that client pitch if there's someone I would like to send it to. So like Nike, hello, maybe I'll send this your way. It allows me to bring the fantasy to life and hopefully sell the idea to the clients. All right, that was nice and quick, nothing too extreme. I'm gonna leave it here for today. Hopefully you really enjoyed the video and you enjoyed watching the whole process. I loved putting it together and doing it for you. If there's anything you'd like to ask or comments you'd like to make, feel free to leave them in the box below. Also, if there's anything you'd like to see me draw in the future, I am more than open to suggestions. If you liked this video and you would like to subscribe to my channel, that would be great. I would love you for that. And also, if you're on Instagram, feel free to head over and follow me there. I post up a lot of other content on my Instagram and projects that I'm working on and things like that. So with that, I'm gonna love you and leave you, and I think go have some lunch. So I will talk to you soon. Mwah. Love you all. Bye.